And so I join our colleagues who have spoken in also extending congratulations to our esteemed colleagues. It is a rare and a distinct honor for us at the university to have you amongst us and to count you amongst our giants. Sorry for that terrible metaphor. Amongst our leaders in science and technology and innovation here at the University of Johannesburg. And so today we cut the ribbon. We celebrate, and as we do so, we at the same time grapple with the swirling and engulfing events that trouble us to the core of our being, and events that are asking deep and fundamental questions about our universities and about our university system, and for that matter that ask fundamental questions about our nation and about its ongoing struggle in this very early phase of democratization, its struggle to find itself, to make headway. Yesterday, at the important fundraiser for the so-called missing middle, where we raised 31 million rands for starters, of a 60 million rands target that we have set for ourselves, I observed that the events that we observe, that we engulfed in, that we are troubled with and about, in some respect reflects the crisis of the social contracts that give birth to our nations, including ours. Because the troubles and the challenges reflecting the deep contradictions in our nations, these, in my view, suggest that our constitutions here in South Africa, across many of our peer nations on the continent, many peer nations in Latin America, and for that matter, at least in Southern Europe, that these events pose deep and fundamental questions about the value of our social contracts that reflected in our constitutions. These social contracts hold out the hope to the poorest amongst us that they too shall be counted, that their time too will come, and will come sooner rather than later. In particular, as they observe the elites and the middle classes helping themselves to an inordinate share of the gross domestic product. In our instance, we know that close to 50% of our nation struggles in poverty, that about 25% of our nation struggles in dire poverty. And so we should not be surprised to see universities engulfed in that very struggle and question over the idea of the social contract. Simply because universities in South Africa are public institutions, and universities are expected to give effect to that social contract. And so here at the University of Johannesburg, 10 years ago, about 9% of our first year enrollment came from schools from quintile 1 and 2, serving the poorest in our nation. We are pleased to say that that has grown to 30% of the first year intake. But we know that is not enough. And so the efforts that we have undertaken in the last decades here at UJ, in particular since our own massive student mobilization in 2007 that caused us to shut down the university for about 6 or 7 days, which precipitated a fundamentally different approach to how we engage students and how we engage this question of funded access to the University of Johannesburg. And so we celebrate in this context. We celebrate in this context in which young people have said to us that your fees, total cost at UJ, tuition, residence, food, books, transport, of 85,000 rands a year, and of 120,000 rands a year at our peer institution here at WITS, that is simply not affordable. That the so-called missing middle is locked out of university education, whilst the poor are locked into loans. And at the same time, while the elites find higher education in South Africa not only excellent but cheap. And so our young people have raised these questions, and it's in that context that we celebrate. We cut the ribbon. Our young people have asked us fundamental questions, as they correctly have done, as they must. They've asked us fundamental questions about transformation of our university system. Yes, they've asked about the quantum. They've asked about the seniority. They've asked about culture. And so here at UJ, we can count ourselves amongst the front runners when it comes to building a critical mass of black academics, and black African academics in particular. Just 11 years ago, at this university, we had 90 black academics. Today, we have 410 black academics at this university. And we know that the work is unfinished. Only fools would conclude that the work is done. The seniority, Dr. Kati, that you refer to, confounds this university as it confounds our peers. And so we've built the pipeline, and we've committed ourselves in the institution in the next 3 to 5 years to have significantly increased the percentage of black associate professors and full professors at the university. And that pipeline program is underway. 150 academics are involved in that pipeline program, and we hope to expand that even more so in time to come. It's in this context that we celebrate today, and that we cut the ribbon with our peers, and we celebrate them. This university is serious about research like all of our peers. And so we've built the research enterprise in this university as we charged to do, as we're required to do. We've tripled publications output at this university in the last decade. One way of making sense of this, is anybody from WITS here? Anyone, any colleague from WITS? No? Disappointed. One way of making sense of this shift, this dramatic shift, is to take account that this university does not have a medical school as yet, MEC. We're working together on that project. The MEC is saying 2018. It's a tough task. And so without a medical school, keep that in mind, that universities with medical schools, good medical schools, not just run-of-the-mill medical schools, with good medical schools such as a WITS or a UCT or a Pretoria, that as much as 30% of publications output come from those sources, from the medical school. So against that background, you may be interested to know that UJ's publications output, research output, is where WITS was 2 years ago. And I hope that gives us a sense of what is happening in this enterprise here at the University of Johannesburg. And so it's in that context also that we celebrate and that we cut the ribbon. And so it's our challenge to try and make sense of this environment, this space that we find ourselves in, this rare moment, and the possibility of this moment of an epoch-shifting, making moment. A rare moment for us, together with having spirited, having been energized by students, for us to be able to seize the moment with them. Not from them, but with them. And so we celebrate today, first of all, the NRF and the DST. We celebrate such leadership, this leadership that has demonstrated extraordinary foresight. We celebrate the accomplishment, 199 chairs. And of course today in particular here at UJ we celebrate the 42 new rounds of chairs. And we celebrate of course our colleagues. But I want to stick for the moment just with this important issue of having national and provincial government departments, MEC, that are led by outstanding leaders, administrators, who are able not only to see the future, not only to help us understand that future, but enable us to reach that future. And so I think we should give a round of applause and sincere appreciation to the Department of Science and Technology and of course the National Research Foundation. Thank you very much. And so we celebrate the department and the foundation because the 42 new round chairs in itself is epoch-making. Shouldn't take it for granted. Shouldn't take it lightly. Shouldn't just wave it on. And in this respect, we are a leader amongst peers. We are a leader amongst peer nations and nations in the industrialized or so-called developed world. I don't think we must forget that. We must not forget what comes with that possibility and that opportunity that we have available in front of us. And so we celebrate also, of course, the research enterprise and the research colleague, the colleagues leading research here at UJ. Because we would not have been able to celebrate today with our colleagues if we did not have the environment, the incentive system that we have constructed to stimulate the nurturing, the building of this research, this growing research-intensive institution. And so we celebrate these colleagues from their leader, Professor Marwala, through to the executive deans and the vice deans, and of course the individual academics who bring great pride to themselves and to this university, to this nation, and to our world. And so we celebrate today in this context as we struggle to make sense of it. And as the contradictions pierce us sharply, we celebrate. And so as we celebrate the 5 women who bring great pride to themselves and their families, their loved ones, their community, as they do to us here at UJ and to our nation and to our continent and our world, as we as we celebrate them, as we give thanks, as we bow down to those who we bow down to, as we lift our head up to those who we lift up to, as we meditate, as we reflect on the journeys traveled and reflected in these women, we celebrate this epoch making moment for us here at UJ, from 0 women chairs to 5 women chairs. Again, as I come to a close to the formal launching of the chairs, let us be mindful. Let us be alert to the point that whilst these are women, as they are women, I'm struggling with the right way of putting it, because you are women because you are women. Yeah? That's our starting point. It's not, an add-on, it's the starting point. Right? They are first amongst their peers. Men and women. Let's be clear about that. I should also say, as we come to close of my remarks, that for UJ, this is indeed a very special moment, very, very proud moment for us. Also because we know that you are grappling with, struggling with, in this context, grappling with, struggling with difficult and complex issues. But that is what research is all about. It is about facing up to these extraordinary challenges, and in the first instance, accomplishing great things because of your work, and in the second instance, accomplishing great things for our nation and our world because of the work that you are doing. I'm surprised Professor Marwala has not given you marching orders along the line of, at least here in public, I know he's done it privately, along the lines of how many publication units, yeah? How many PhDs, how many postdoc fellows, how many masters graduates are we going to have in the period ahead. And so we do look forward to your contribution, of course, to the metrics or the numbers or the statistics, but ultimately it is in the difference that your research, that you and your research will make in this nation, on this continent, and in this world. And so it's a truly great honor for us. It's a great privilege, DST colleague, DG and our executive director at the NRF. It's a distinct honor and pleasure for us to host these chairs through these extraordinary women, scholars, first amongst equals. And so I guess we cut the ribbon then in this extraordinary moment in the life of our nation and in the life of our universities. I'm certain that you will remember this forever. This moment, as we cut the ribbon, as we celebrate, and as we don't look over our shoulder. No. As we celebrate not looking over our shoulders. We celebrate confidently, yes, humbly, but confidently going forward in order to, and again, I can't find the right word, other than for the moment, forgive me, conquering these frontiers of knowledge that you face for yourself and for all of us. So Professor Marwala has already announced the chairs, and our ED, Dr. Kati, has already done so. So I'm not going to bore us, except to formally again congratulate Professor Henning, to formally congratulate Professor Tragena, to formally congratulate Professor Schmamann and to formally congratulate Professor Abramse. And of course, in her absence, Professor Patel, you bring great honor to yourself, you bring great honor to all of us. And we are truly honored to be your fellow travelers and partners in this important journey that must result in a different kind of nation, must result in a different kind of planet, must build confidence in our social contracts and our constitutions, must enable our nation states to go through and to thrive in the years and in the decades ahead. For the alternative, we would not want to contemplate. Thank you very much and congratulations.